everyone. Welcome to Buzzing About Romance Happy Hour Edition. I am your host, Becky, and joining me from our sister podcast, Corset and Crown, is the lovely Duchess Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hey,
I was saying it's been a minute since we got to hang out and chit chat, but
I know.
I knew that as soon as I booked our guest, that it was going to be a little bit of fisticuffs between you and Lady Sadie as two got to
If
hang out.
I think if she wasn't completely swamped tonight, she would have won that battle
She would
for
have.
sure.
Sure. We are super excited to welcome our guest, Ashley Herring Blake. Ashley, welcome to Happy Hour.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm
We are
excited to be here.
we are super excited to have you here. We both are big fans of your Bright Falls series.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love these ladies. So we're going to spend tonight just kind of hanging out, getting to know you and talk about
Yeah.
these books. And then on Tuesday, book 3 in the series, Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, is coming out, which is so exciting.
It is. I'm very excited. I can't wait for it to be in the world.
And these
They all look so pretty together. Like
They
seeing them at
do.
like,
Yeah.
oh, they're so pretty.
Yeah, I really won the cover lottery. I did.
they're great covers.
Yeah.
Because initially I saw everybody with Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I'm like, oh, that's a really cute cover. And I just bought the book. Like, I just need the book.
I
for
mean,
the
we
cover.
do judge books by their cover. We just do.
Yeah.
We absolutely do. And then
Yeah.
it was actually my girl child, Sydney, who was like, Mom, you know this is sapphic, right? I'm like, yeah, I read that. And she's like, can I read that? I'm like, yeah, go for it. So we read it. But yeah, the cover, it was an instant buy for me on that cover.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Love it.
So, like I said, tonight we're celebrating the release of Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. And you can ask, rules of the night, you can ask all the questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as we go along. In the description of the video are all the links to all the places to connect with Ashley. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. So let's kick things off. It is Thursday night. It is Friday Eve. Ashley, are you drinking anything fun this evening?
Well, I did pour a pumpkin ale, and
Nice.
I'm drinking it
Ooh.
out of my David Rose Eat Glass glass. So
Nice.
he's looking at you right over the drink line,
Perfect.
glaring.
Perfect.
So this is a pumpkin ale. I love pumpkin ales in the fall. So
yeah.
that's what I'm drinking tonight. What are y'all drinking?
What are you drinking, Katie?
I just have a boring glass of wine, but I haven't drank wine like with any kind of regularity in a couple years. So I'm just like, I'm getting back on my like wine train.
There you
So
go.
All right.
I'm actually just drinking water out of my like emotional support
Fair.
tumbler.
Those are real.
It's
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
thing. My husband is like,
Yeah.
"How many tumblers do you need?" And I'm like, I
the
don't know.
limit does not exist.
Yes. I've been asked that as well. I actually had a friend recently whose emotional support water jug broke. And it was quite, yeah, I'm not sure if they've actually replaced it yet, but they were heartbroken,
Yeah,
which I understand. Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, and I can never have too many stickers. I also love stickers, so I will put all the stickers on
There you
it.
go.
Yes.
But like I said earlier before we started, we got a puppy, and sleep is not happening very much for us right now.
Yeah. I've heard it's like having a newborn child.
It is,
I'm
and
like,
I haven't had
yeah.
a newborn in 18 and a half years, and I haven't had a puppy in 12 years. And
Yeah.
I'm an old lady, and this is a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot.
Um, so we would like to get to know you a little bit and find out a little bit who author Ashley Herring Blake is. So first, tell us why romance, and then why specifically sapphic romance.
Well, romance, I started writing romance in the shutdown. Delilah Green Doesn't Care was my pandemic book. I feel like every author writing these days has a pandemic book, and that was mine. Um, and at the time before Delilah, I was writing for kids. I was writing middle grade and YA, and had been doing that for several years. And I knew I wanted to get into adult. I knew I wanted to start kind of exploring people my age and what they dealt with, and writing those kinds of stories. So I was trying to figure out kind of what kind of adult book I wanted to write. I mean, I really love reading a variety. I mean, I love, contemporary. I like just kind of book club fiction. So I knew I do not belong in writing in the fantasy world. So I knew it was not going to be any kind of fantasy, because I'm terrible at world building, and like magic systems and stuff. I'm just like, I can't do it. I totally love it. Anybody who can, but and then the pandemic hit, so I was like, oh, I think I just needed something a little lighter. I always loved reading romance, so this idea of kind of a little twist on Cinderella kind of just started to, coalesce, and so that's how Delilah was born. I think generally why romance, it's just fun. Like, it's just so fun to just write a book and a story where my chief goal is to get these two people to smash.
Yeah.
And that it's just fun. And so I'd spent, years in Kidlit, loved it there, don't regret any of my time there. But I wrote the books I was writing were heavier, and they weren't always very fun to write, while I still really needed to write them. And writing romance isn't always fun. Sometimes it's really freaking hard, but
Yeah.
it's just nice to know that my general goal is just moving these two people to kiss and then have sex and then end up together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun. I've just really enjoyed it. I think the readers in general have really, romance has always been huge, obviously. And I just know for me in the past several years, it's been an even bigger part of my life, just because it's such a refuge, I think, of just reading that kind of story. Not only writing it. Sapphic, I want more queer love stories in the world.
Yeah.
I'm queer, I'm bisexual, and I wanted stories that had characters that felt like me and loved like me, and I wanted them to have happy endings, and I wanted them to struggle with friendships and jobs and parents, and I wanted all the tropes that I sometimes heard people say are tired, to be done in queer stories. And so that's really why Sapphic, and
I love it.
probably will never write anything other than that. So,
I don't think we get enough Sapphic rep
we
and
don't, definitely.
bisexual
Yeah.
rep. I think that we need tons more of it. And
Mhm.
so thank you for writing it too, because I do
Yeah.
have an out child, and she like was drawn to your books and felt seen. And so to me,
Good.
that's like,
Good.
that is just as beautiful as an HEA. And I'm
Oh,
here
yeah.
for the HEAs. Give them all to me.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
that's why we read romance, and
Yeah.
same for my other half, Sadie, Lady Sadie on Corset and Crown. She is bisexual as well. So these
Mhm.
books, she gobbled all three up. She, we were talking kind of about it offline, and we were talking about how it's nice to see like queer couples that don't necessarily have to follow the same formula of like a straight cis het relationship, and kind of like, and have it not be a thing, like the fact that
Yeah.
they're queer, to like,
Yeah.
it's just been really refreshing lately to see where their queerness isn't, it's not like I can't find the right word. It's not like it's the only thing about them and everyone's, making a big deal about it. It's like,
Yeah.
acknowledgement and progress.
Yeah.
Is kind of,
I mean, I think it's a balance. I mean,
yeah.
For these characters and for queer people, I think that it is a huge thing. I mean, it's a huge part of our lives. And at the same time, that is not all, we are.
Right.
Any marginalized community is going to say, this is a huge piece of who I am. It colors everything.
Yeah.
But I also have to clean out the litter box, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to pay for my children's braces and, things like that. And so, and that's kind of what I wanted to showcase, and if you've read the second book, Astrid, she does have that is a coming out story book, which was really important to me to showcase in an adult sphere, because it happens so often. That's my own story. So I just wanted to show a variety of queer experiences, really,
Yeah.
and that they are all valid, and yeah.
And I think too, like there the fact that, you were mentioning some people were saying these tropes are tired or whatever. I love seeing tired tropes in different ways. Like
Yeah.
that was initially something that drew me to Delilah. I actually had to like hold off reading it for a little bit because I went through a pretty significant loss last year. So I was like, but I
Yeah.
knew,
No, I get it. Yeah.
and I loved it. So,
Yeah.
beyond that, but it was just, I don't know, nothing about any of the books has felt overtly too tropey. You know what like, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Well, I think that when we hear that, like, oh, that trope is tired, it's it's usually from a cis white het abled neurotypical perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we need to see all of that with these tropes. We need to see disabled and people of color and queer and neurodiverse, and so that's what. And we're getting definitely more and more and more of that.
Yeah.
See, and I don't
Not
think any
quite
of
enough,
it's
but
tired because this genre is so big.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, there's always
if you're
room
tired
for
of
another
that,
love story.
right?
Mhm.
Like, and
Yeah.
doesn't everyone deserve love? And I think that was like for us in reading your series for my girl child, particularly for me, it was great to read it as a parent, like to read this as a parent, to see this through someone else's eyes, because my experience is very straight, white, like there's nothing dynamic there. My husband and I
Right.
have been married for 25 years. We met when we were young adults in college. Like we're just not really that, we're kind of boring and it's fine. We like it.
Well,
But
that's who you are. Yeah.
yeah, but reading it for my
Not
girl
that that's
child,
boring, and that's not boring. Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
we're not exactly spicy on a. We're like talking about what to do this weekend. He's like, we're gonna go to Menards, and I'm like, yes. I think I have to work all weekend. No lumber for me. But like for her reading it, she felt seen. She has anxiety. She is neurospicy. And so for her, it was like, look, I can get an HEA and we live in a small town. Particularly Iris Kelly, because it was in theater and it has the theater vibes, and she was reading it. She's she's a stage manager for our local performing arts center. And it was her last show this fall for her senior year in high school. And she's like, Mom, it just means so much. And I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Hey.
Oh, that's sweet.
She's so funny.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So when you are sitting down to write, what is your favorite part of writing? Do you like writing the banter? Is it the world building? Is it creating these characters? What is your favorite part to do? Is it edits? Because my day job is as an editor and proofreader, so it's edits, isn't it?
No, no, it's not.
It's nobody's favorite.
How dare you even suggest that my first draft is not perfect?
Right.
I'm just kidding.
There's only 78,000
I'm sorta kidding.
Oxford commas in it, so.
Yes, I am an Oxford comma person, but anyway, there's several parts I like. I used to actually really hate drafting, and I did used to say that I liked revising more. That is no longer true. I actually like drafting a lot now. I write pretty complete first drafts just because I write very complete synopses before. I don't do a chapter by chapter, scene by scene outline, because that's way too strict, but I do have a pretty good idea of where things are going from the beginning. It always changes as I'm writing. But it makes me enjoy, it helps me to enjoy the drafting process a lot more because I don't feel like this abject fear and just terror at the blank page. I love the brainstorming phase. I love when I have the idea and I'm writing the synopsis. I really like writing the synopsis and getting those ideas down and figuring out the characters and who they are and who hurt them and what they want and need. And so I like the brainstorming phase. Once I'm actually writing, I mean, I think I won't say every, because I definitely have met romance writers who love romance. They love writing. They love reading sex scenes, but writing sex scenes makes them very nervous. And they're like, oh god, I have to write this sex scene. But I am not one of those romance writers. Which I've heard this from many romance writers, and most that I know are like, yes, we are like barreling forward to that first kiss and the first sex scene. So those are always fun to write. I do like writing banter, like when I write particularly funny things, especially if I can crack myself up, that's quite fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I like a lot of different parts to it.
You have pretty dynamic first kisses in each of these books.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember each of them. I'm like,
it's okay.
When did Delilah and Claire kiss? Oh, okay. Yes, I do remember Astrid's though. Astrid's was quite memorable.
Yes.
Phoebe's and Iris's was a little, well, I don't want to spoil it, but
yeah,
it happens very soon in the book.
Which I was not
very early.
I was not unhappy about. I like the spice.
Nope.
Give me all the spice. And I will say, I think Iris, I think that the chemistry and the spice in that one burned hot. Like, it was hot in that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it was Iris, and Iris is Iris, if you've read the other two books, and it was also the last one. So I was like, we're bringing out the strap on.
Yeah.
We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
So when you are plotting out and brainstorming your books, this is so interesting to me. Are you one that the voices nag in your brain? Do you see the book play out like a movie for you? How does like brainstorming and ideas come to you?
Well, I guess the ideas come from a million different places. Like I can't, like any book that I've written, I can't like look at that book and think, well, other than my last YA, Girl Made of Stars, which was a pretty heavy YA about sexual assault. That one came from a very specific place, which was when all the Brock Turner stuff was happening. I don't know if y'all remember that, like several years ago.
Yeah.
But when all that was happening, I was just filled with just such rage that I had to, I mean, I wrote that book in like a fever dream that I don't even remember writing it hardly. But every other book really came from just like a million different threads, like just pulling from so many different ideas, like I'm thinking of some of my middle grade and I'm like, oh yeah, I've always been scared of tornadoes and I've always thought mermaids were cool, and this, misty ocean in Maine, and then this dealing with grief thing and a canoe right here. And, I mean, just like, I can't pinpoint like, oh, this book came from this, or I heard the story and then I turned it into a book and ran with it. Like they're just cobbled from so many different threads that I can't really pinpoint like, one specific thing. I will say that when I'm starting a brand new book, I usually start with kind of a combo of character and premise. So like there's a character who, is a disaster usually, because that's the only kind of character I want to write or can write.
Yes.
And then some kind of situation, that's happening that they're in. So I kind of start with a combo of that. And then I kind of go from there. I mean, I wouldn't say it plays out like a movie, but then I start thinking through, if it's a romance, obviously I need my love interest. I need the other main character because I like writing the dual POV. And so then I have to kind of do the same thing with them. Like, who are they? What situation are we in? And then when they collide, why is this a significant moment in both of their lives?
Yeah.
And then I just kind of start following how I know to write a book, and start writing out the synopsis. And that just helps me, I guess, kind of see it like all played out. Even if it always changes. I mean, it never stays the way the synopsis is. Something always shifts, and, just depending on how, because as I go along, I'm getting to know these characters better. And what made sense when I didn't really know them doesn't make sense anymore. So I like that though, that I have there's wiggle room in there for, surprise. And
yeah.
I always think it's interesting, authors, they're different processes, some are like heavy plotters and others just, sit down at the keyboard and the story comes to them. I just find it all very interesting because that is not my creative space. My husband's constantly like, why don't you just write a book? You edit the books, you know what needs to be in the book. And I'm like, I tell people, I will fix your words. I cannot write your words.
Yeah.
So
Same.
Yeah.
Same. My husband's like,
And
why don't
that's
you write a
okay.
book? And I'm like, there are professionals
yes.
and they can do it. I like to fill up my bookshelves with it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Trophies.
I mean, I love writing, I do, but unless you just have this nagging, unrelenting voice in your brain that tells you must write a book, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine so. And I recently
Yeah.
found out, my friends asked me, I don't have like an inner monologue, like period. Like I don't hear my voice in my head. And whenever it's probably going to sound bad. Whenever I talk, I have not run through the sentence in my head before I say it.
Well,
right.
I don't have a filter. We all know that.
Yeah, we know you don't have a filter, but I don't have an inner monologue. So I'm like, when people talk about like a character who they can't stop thinking about and they hear their voice and, it comes out on a page and I'm like, what is that? What is that like? Like, that's wild to me. I didn't realize
I
I
don't really
was
have
the
that either.
uncommon
Yeah.
freak.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I have an inner monologue, but I don't have it wasn't like Delilah was like, please write me like the whole time, I mean, I fully created her.
Yeah.
But I've definitely heard of that. Like, I had heard this voice in my head, and that's the voice that I want for this character. I definitely see how that happens. But brains are weird. I was just talking to friends the other day about how we were realizing that some people like cannot picture things in their head.
So
Like
yes,
can't picture things.
my
And
husband.
some people can, but it's in black and white. They like can't make the banana yellow, and I'm just like, really?
So my husband and I just had this discussion because he saw a tweet and he was like, so when I say picture an apple,
John Green was talking about it.
He's like, when I say an apple, picture an apple, what do you see? And I'm like, I see like a bright red apple in detail. And he's like, I don't see anything. And then he was like angry and
fascinating.
Mad. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry.
It's just fascinating to me. And then some people see it like half formed, or they get the idea of the apple, but not the actual apple. And then some people see it gray. And I'm like, wow, that's just fascinating.
Brains are wild, man. I can't even.
Yeah.
See, and Hannah in the chat says, I see the word apple, but she doesn't visualize the physical apple.
Yeah, see, I just had I had no clue that there were that many differentiations of what we see or don't see in our brains. It's wild.
So we recently... Oh, go ahead, Katie.
No, I was just going to keep tangenting, so it's all good.
Let's just keep talking about apples and whether or not we can see them.
After we can see the apples. Favorite color, favorite variety of apple, grafting of apples. We'll just go all apple. One of the things that we recently did an episode on was the female archetype, because I have decided that female characters, heroines, do not get enough love. Like, everybody's quick to say, oh, that's a cinnamon roll hero, that's an alpha hole, but nobody talks about the different female archetypes. And there's some really great female archetypes and ways.
Unless they're unlikable, then we talk about that a lot.
Yeah. But you know what? Some of my favorite heroines of last year would have been deemed unlikable heroines. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
So
I think all of mine would have. Delilah's definitely unlikable. Astrid is super unlikable. I have people even saying that when they finished Delilah, they were like, I am not going to read Astrid's book. And they did and loved her, obviously. But I was like, Astrid's my favorite, so do not mess with Astrid.
Well, and I will be honest, I skipped over her. I read Delilah, skipped over her. Then I just read Iris, and I went back and read Astrid, because I'm like,
okay,
I need to give her some love too. I don't have her paperback yet, but it is ordered. But yeah, I had to go back because I'm like, okay, I kind of need to know her story.
You do. She's the best.
Completionist. That's my problem too. I'm like, well, I gotta read them all. So
I just like to do it out of order in my own way that drives everybody insane. We call it macheting, like we machete the series. That's what I do. Um,
All right.
I tell them it's
Fair.
Chaos
community.
reader.
I tell them it's a community service because if the author tells us it's a standalone, then I need to be able to pick up book 2 and know that it stands alone. So
Right.
it's
That's
community
fair.
service.
All right. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite female archetype?
I really don't. I guess like just I have a I guess like well, I guess I don't know if it's an archetype, but I just like writing disasters. Like I whether I'm writing a woman or I might write a, a non-binary character in the future or, even, Iris's love interest was supposed to be Simon originally. So if I'm writing a guy, I just like writing messy people.
Messy people.
I just like writing messy people. If they're not messy and they're not a bit of a disaster, I'm going to get bored with them writing them. And that's not to say that I can't enjoy like reading a character who isn't quite so messy. I feel like every main character probably is a little bit messy because
Yeah.
they're always going to have something that they need that they're not getting, some kind of denial going on,
Mhm.
So, I feel like every character has a bit of that, but I like taking it real, like, you're just a disaster.
Yeah.
So that's really
Yes.
my favorite to write. And I mean, there's definitely certain characters in Bright Falls who are less of disasters. Like Claire is not really a disaster, but Delilah was definitely.
Yeah.
So it was fun to kind of
Yeah.
put them together. I mean, like in each one, Astrid and Jordan were kind of disasters in very different ways. Jordan was kind of a overt disaster, and then Astrid was a very like prim and proper disaster. And then Iris is just a little chaos demon everywhere, and Stevie, has her own kind of quieter mess that she's trying to figure out in her life.
I
And
feel like
so,
Iris is a little bit of a femme fatale too, though. Like
oh yeah,
she leans
yeah,
into her curves and just
yeah, yeah. Oh, and she will absolutely slash your tires if you mess with her or any of her friends. Like 100%.
And I love that
So,
energy. I
oh
love
yeah,
that
yeah. I
energy.
mean, and she will not hesitate to punch you in the face, as she did at the end of Delilah Green Doesn't Care. So, yeah, she definitely has. I mean, she likes sex a lot. She is not apologetic or does not hide that fact. So yeah, but underneath all that, she's a mess. So
Yeah.
those are. So I wouldn't say I have a favorite archetype. I just like
messy people.
messed up people.
Messy
What
people.
Yeah.
and Hannah says in the chat, disasters are relatable. Messes.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I start
Yeah.
tons of our newsletters for the podcast. Becky is a mess because nothing in my life is ever like just calm. There's always some form of chaos happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like in romance too, you hear, just certain things of like, well, why can't they just have this conversation? They just had this one conversation, it would all be fixed. And I'm like,
Yeah. And the book
because
would be
people are
over.
messy and we don't
Yeah.
have great communication skills. Why don't you just go have a conversation? I mean,
Exactly.
and it's because sometimes it's hard and we are scared and we are insecure and we, have a lot of reasons why that might not happen. And yes, also because the book would be over. And you hear that criticism more for, I feel like, I won't even limit it to just women, but just marginalized characters in general that like, well, they're just making stupid decisions. And I'm like, well, yes, if they made all the right decisions, that would be one hell of a boring book.
Right?
Yes.
And so, especially in like YA, you hear that too. It's like, well, these teenagers are making dumb choices. I'm like,
Were you not a
Didn't we all?
teenager?
yes. So, I just, that's the kind of story I want to read. I want to read people making dumb choices.
Well, and I'm team miscommunication. I know many people,
Yes.
and I like a third act breakup, which I know lots of people are like,
I love a third act breakup.
yeah, see,
Love it.
I think we need them,
I'm not against not having it if people want to do that.
but it has to
I
be a
personally
really
love it,
good
though.
dark moment, kidnapping, murder.
So really dark.
Yes.
So we're talking dark.
We're
Okay.
talking dark. I
Okay.
I started reading romance in 1991 at the age of 12, 13. And I grew up on the Bodice Rippers, the Jude Devereaux, the Joanna Lindsays, the Julie Garwoods. And all of those are miscommunication, and they tend to have
Mhm.
third act breakups. I like instant connection. I want people to get together and do the things they need to be doing.
Yeah.
And then I want that miscommunication because it feels human. You know,
Mhm.
my husband and I, we've been together 25 years now, and it's like we have nothing fun to fight about anymore. Not that fighting was fun in our early marriage, but now it's like the kids are done being raised, and now we
Mhm.
fight over, the wrong sheets on the bed, or the stupid things. I
Yeah.
I need that drama. I want to have my stomach,
Yeah.
the pit of my stomach, drop out.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I love a third act breakup. I've definitely read books that don't have it, and I've enjoyed them. Like when anything is done well, I think it
Mhm.
works. There's a saying that I've heard in writing that doesn't really make much sense, but it does if you're a writer, that if it works, it works. And anything will work if it works. And
Works.
so, yeah, I mean, like if I'm reading it and I'm loving it, then it's working. And I've definitely read books that don't have a third act breakup that I love. Um, I personally love it. I like that they have to kind of, and usually for my third act breakups, it's because it's not I mean, it is stuff that happened, like someone didn't tell someone that something they should have, or something like that, or whatever. I don't know. I'm blanking on why all my characters are broken up now, but really, the core of it is what I like to display in these third act breakup moments is that I, as an individual, am not ready. Like I need to be my complete person a little bit more before I understand how to accept love and give it. Not only giving it, but also accepting it.
Yeah.
And that's why I like them so much, because I think it's a moment where authors can really hone in on these two characters, not as a couple, but as individuals. Like who they are, what their problem is. I mean, Iris had plenty to work through. Dee Dee had plenty to work through on their own, before they could really do the thing together. And I've heard people who are like, I want my queer characters to not have to go through this painful breakup. And I get that. But relationships are painful sometimes. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
we should show that they're painful for everybody. And, I've heard the argument like, well, my characters have the skills they need to communicate it. And I'm like, mine do not. Mine don't. Okay. Mine do not have it.
Messy.
But that's what they're learning. That's what they're learning.
Mhm.
And that's, to me, the beauty of the third act breakup, is to have a moment where they have seen a glimpse of what it could be like. And something spooks them, something happens, and then they have to live with that and figure out, why can I not let this person go? Do I want to let them go? Do I want to go after them? Do I believe that I deserve their love? Can I give them the love that they need? So that's why I love them.
Yeah.
Just those moments.
Well, and I don't need a grand gesture, but I do like a grovel. I do like those moments where
Yeah.
you do talk it out finally, and you do come to terms, and it feels these. I talk about these books, like when we go to review the books, sometimes we talk about them like these are real people. These are like, if somebody
Yeah.
walked into a conversation when I was talking about a book, they would think I was talking about someone's real relationship. But I
Yeah.
like those pictures of humanity, because no marriage is perfect. No relationship is going to be 100% roses all the time. You're going to get mad because they folded the towels the wrong way.
That will be my next book. That will be the reason why they have a third act breakup.
Have at it. That, or they forget to wash their underwear and just instead go to Walmart and buy it
Oh, well.
instead
Okay.
of doing the
Yeah.
laundry. I would know
Or
nothing
they
about that.
you filled up the dishwasher and cleaned every dish, and then after dinner they just put it in the sink.
Hmm. But I need those moments of humanity. I need
Yeah.
them to know that, no one is perfect. Everyone has
Yeah.
flaws. Even these wonderful characters, because I'm sorry, reality is no one can be the perfect communicator 100% of the
Oh,
time.
no. Absolutely not. Yeah. This is why we're all in therapy, right?
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This is why we're medicated and in therapy.
Yes.
And why I
Yes.
read romance like it's my job.
There you go.
So, well, kind of is.
It kind of is the job.
Perfect.
So what is the inspiration for Bright Falls?
Nothing really. Just, I mean, like, I've gotten this question a bit. They're like, "Oh, is it based on a place you love?" And I'm like, "No, it's just based on it." I mean, I guess yes, but not like a specific place. Like, I do have a book. One of my middle grade books. It takes place on like a little island off the coast of South Carolina that I made up, and it's kind of a blend of the island that I actually live on in off coastal Georgia, and a cape that is off the Panhandle of Florida that I frequent in the summer, with my family. And so, sometimes that does happen where I have like, I'm going to base it off this because I always make up my towns, just so I can basically do whatever I want to in that town. I mean, Iris, a lot of Iris takes place in Portland, Oregon, so I did have to kind of deal with a real place there. But Bright Falls was really, I wanted to write a small town romance. I love small town romances. I wanted to write a place that felt cozy, and I kind of wanted to do a Pacific Northwest location, because I hadn't really written that before, and I like kind of varying where I write things. And I wanted, a place that felt like it was a real queer community. Like, I didn't gloss over kind of the fact that there are these queer people living in small town in Oregon, which, probably some microaggressions going on there. So I didn't want to gloss over that, but I also wanted a place where my queer characters did feel safe and comfortable and at home, because queer community is a huge part of the Bright Falls series and what I wanted to showcase in the stories. So
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit of the Pacific Northwest, I think, because it still feels a little untamed. But there is also an air of acceptance and a feelings of artistry. And I think that the town itself does really well to catch those vibes, a little bit of the wildness and the freedom that seems to be part of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember one time I saw a tweet that said something like, because I think I do talk about real places like the Willamette Valley and Portland and, things like that. And I think someone tweeted how this Bright Falls is in the wrong place because it would never be this distance from Willamette or whatever. And I was like, it's fictional. I made it up. It's not real. And that's why I do it, because I like writing in a setting that is different from my own. Like, I mean, I like one of my middle grades is set in Georgia. I think one of my YAs is set in Tennessee, which is where I used to live. And, but I also like writing in a different area that I may have been to. I just don't live there because it's fun for me as the author. And that's why I also make them up, because I can then just do whatever I want to do there.
I feel like Bright Falls has that Provincetown, but Pacific Northwest vibes. Like, I'm always jealous every summer. I have one friend that he goes for like 3 different weeks to Provincetown for the different, celebrations, pride celebrations each week throughout the summer. Yeah. I'm always like, I want to just go there. Like, celebrate all the chaos. Although he's now, so he and I went to high school together. He's now 47, same as I am, 47. And this year he went for Bear Week for the first time. And I'm like, really, dude? Bear Week.
Wow, nice.
He's like, we're over 45 now. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Get it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So this is a friend group, sort of, a little bit of friends.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And they're in each other's lives. This, I think, is great because they really functioned as a really great friend group. They had that girl gang kind of vibe for them. Do you like writing friend groups? Some authors don't really lean into the friend groups, but I felt like you really did lean into, the fact that these women are more than just people that live in the same area. They are friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was 100% planned and on purpose. I wanted to write a group of queer people who were each other's found family. I think in queer communities or any marginalized community, really, like, a found family is so crucial and important. And not that they're never not when we create those found families. and those chosen families around us, whoever you are. But, you know, I think in marginalized communities and queer communities, like, it is especially crucial and really just vital to thriving, because that it's not just a group to hang out with, it's a group to share trauma with, it's a group to share um, firsts with, and just all sorts of, you know, just different microaggressions that might be coming your way at any given point in time. And it's just, you know, it's there's just different dynamics. Like, I think there are certain elements that like some people might read in Iris and be like, oh, okay, I recognize that, you know. Like Stevie's group of friends, which is a new friend group that I introduced in Iris. There's 4 of them.
That's
and
my
Stevie
follow-up question.
dated-
So
Okay. Stevie dated one of them, and then that one is now dating another one of them. And then we have Ren, who is not dated any of them, but is like this kind of badass kind of caretaker of all of them. But that's just something that you see really often in queer communities. Like, you have, you know, we all kiss each other, and then we all, like, you know, or they all in, and then if you date somebody and you break up, you still talk to that person every single day. They're still in your lives and in your friend group. And that's, you know, part of that, I think, is just numbers, just a numbers game. But part of it also is that there's just such a bond there that isn't easily broken. And forsaken, really, because of a breakup. So, not that it's not complicated, you know, as you can see with Stevie and I forgot her name, Adri. You know, it's definitely complicated. It can be complicated, but, you know, neither one of those characters will ever say to each other goodbye forever.
right.
You know, and that's something I really wanted to do with the whole series, is just show this group of people that it's ride or die, like, literally.
Are we going to see books for some of Stevie's friend group?
Not.
No. Okay. It's fine.
They might pop up in a book in the future. Like, I'm starting to write a new series in November after all my Iris events, and that book, actually, Iris makes an appearance.
Okay.
She's not like a main character or anything, but she plays a certain role. So,
okay,
who knows? I might drag in somebody else, but you know, I mean, well, with Iris comes Stevie, and with the 2 of them come the whole Bright Falls crew. So,
right?
I mean, you never know what might happen on the page. So, yeah.
Hannah says, "Oh, Iris is coming."
I know. she mentions it, and I'm like, "What's that now?
What's that?" So, in Iris, theater plays a significant piece to this story. Are you a theater nerd?
I was a musical theater nerd. I did musical theater in high school. So I did, like, you know, Annie and Phantom of the Opera and Hello Dolly and all that stuff. So yeah, so there is an aspect that I have that is a little bit of an acting background, not strict theater. I was music first and then musical theater. I was a singer. So yes, but I've always loved that side of life.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was never, ever remotely talented enough, period, to ever be even considered for an unmoving tree in the background. Like,
Katie was not a rock.
No. Because I couldn't sit still, for one. I was much more suited to the cheerleading that I did, because I could scream and run around. But that was when I was talking to Sadie about Iris, because I hadn't read Astrid yet. I had read Delilah and I hadn't read Astrid, and I was like, should I do Iris first? And she was like, oh my God, yes, please. Because she too, huge theater nerd. So seeing this character, these characters, this book, she was like, I devoured it in no days, like, so fast. Because she was like, I too am a bisexual disaster. And you know, she made me want to read it so much faster, which I did. I was like, okay, I get it, like, but I wish I knew what theater stuff, like, I wish I understood.
Well,
But you know,
it wasn't that heavy handed on the theater stuff.
it wasn't. But I was like, I know that there's something in there too that kind of like
I think
really
it's
sticks.
I think when you're a theater nerd or a theater kid, because I was a theater person, set designs, lights, I never acted on stage, stage managed. My girl child has been doing theater since she was in kindergarten and every theater camp she could get her hands on. So when you're a theater person, when you get a book or you get a story that has implications of theater and the community that comes with theater, you like absorb it, you suck yourself into it, like you feel loved and seen. It's like a comfy blanket, like it's that hug
Mm-hmm.
of, oh,
Yeah.
my people. And it's so funny
Mhm.
because, you know, I love everything about theater and musical theater. And I feel like theater was one of those very safe places for any, you know, for
Yeah.
people, for queer, especially for queer people. Like it was the one place
Yeah.
you could be and you could be you and live who you were. And there was an acceptance around it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Iris,
Yeah.
like she's my favorite because, you know,
I was like, I can't like even just talking about it, I'm like, I don't know if I can pick, but like I always wanted to be a photographer when I grew up. So
Mhm.
not unlike Becky, I saw the cover for Delilah and I was like, I need it
yeah.
Mhm.
right now. Purple,
Yeah.
2 hot chicks on the cover, like
Yeah. Yeah.
camera.
It's hard to beat that. Yeah.
They're
Mhm.
pretty
Yeah.
fantastic. So in
Yeah.
Iris Kelly, it's fake dating trope.
Mm-hmm.
And but is this the first time you've written fake dating? I guess probably in your YA stuff you might
Mm-hmm.
have done fake dating.
Mm-mm.
No.
No. No, my YA is not dating kind of books. They
Okay.
are, yeah. There might be some romance in them, but they're not happy books.
Okay. So
So
first
yeah,
time
this is
writing
my
fake
first time
dating.
doing fake dating. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love a fake relationship.
And
Me too.
yeah, yeah, I do too. It's kind of one of those tropes where I'm like, who in the world would actually do this? Like, this is not real. But however, when I read a fake dating trope and it's wonderfully done, you know, that I'm like, obviously perfect.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
And then I actually know someone who is actually a romance author. And she and her husband started their relationship by fake dating.
Fake dating.
So I can no longer say that no one would do this because I know one person on the planet who has actually fake dated and now they are married to that person. So, but yeah,
love
I like the
that.
trope. You know, I think it's hard to do where it's believable. Um, so I really, you know, hats off to authors who write this trope. In fact, that was kind of a struggle for just a little bit with Iris. I remember I was actually on vacation with my family at the beach, summer of 22. Yes. No. Yes. Last summer.
What
And
is time?
I was on the phone with my agent and I was like, I can't, this isn't making any sense. Like Iris wouldn't do this. And that was part of the problem at first because it was like I knew why Stevie would do it and needed it. You know, Stevie had already told a lot of her friends that she was dating this person. Then Iris shows up, not to be spoiler. Everybody knows it's fake dating, so that you know they're gonna start fake dating somehow. And Stevie's like, I need you to fake date me. You know why? And Iris is like, okay, I can get some romance content here because I'm on deadline and I have no ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But the trick came when it was time to tell her friends because her group of friends would not for a second buy it that
Mm-hmm.
Iris was actually dating Stevie. And I knew that that was the problem. And I was like, so how do I fix this? I need them to fake date. And I was like, oh, Iris is literally just going to introduce Stevie as her fake girlfriend. Um, and so it was kind of fun doing just that little twist and then watching Iris's friends react to being introduced to this cute girl who Iris says is her fake girlfriend. And obviously they're
Yes.
okay. So it was kind of fun just to kind of subvert it just a little bit, just to kind of make it fit who Iris was.
Yeah. I loved it. I love fake dating because I always think, you know, when they're like, it's just going to be for this amount of time and I'm never going to catch feelings. Really? You're going to be in close proximity to someone and act like you love them, but not actually fall
Yeah.
in love with them? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and also
sure.
we had the sex lessons going on in the background too, so
Right.
Yes.
That's
which
true.
was fun to write. Yeah.
I think that's the one when Sadie said, I love a switch. I think that's she's posted a bunch of
Yeah.
I mean, Sadie reads a lot of queer, we both do. And I'm pretty sure that's the one I saw on her timeline where she was like, I love a switch. And I was like,
Her
Iris
Instagram
does call
always cracks
Stevie.
me up.
She does call Stevie a switch at a key moment. I'll just say that.
Is there a trope you haven't written yet that you would really like to write?
I mean, I'm trying to
mm,
think of what I haven't done. Let's see, the holiday book I just finished, The Second Chance.
ooh.
And I want to say, I mean, I don't feel like I've really done a true enemies to lovers. I've done like Delilah and Claire are grumpy sunshine,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and Delilah's kind of everybody's enemy. And then Asher and Jordan are more rivals, like workplace rivals. They don't really like
Mm-hmm.
full on hate each other, really. But maybe it's close. But I would like to do one where they just like absolute detest. Because I just like that dynamic. I like seeing how they melt. I love a grumpy sunshine, but I already did it, so not that I can't do it again. But
I love a
That's
I
one of
just
my
love it when
favorites,
one
too.
person is like a little curmudgeon and the other person is like this little ball of warmth, and just to see how they come together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of my all-time favorites.
I love Grumpy
Yeah.
Sunshine. I love a grump
It is my fave.
when they
Yeah.
are, almost ridiculous in how grouchy they are. Like, that's a puppy.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't even like puppy.
Yeah.
Like, really? Everybody loves
Yeah.
puppies or kitties or whatever. Like, who would be sad
Yeah.
with a donut? But the grump can find sadness with a donut.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or at least imperfections.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just going to say it. I've never been grumpy with a donut, so don't you worry.
Me
I don't
either.
love it either. Unless it's like a really dry donut that's just not worth it.
I've been
Yeah,
really
it's not
mad at my
hitting the way.
children when they eat all the donuts and there's none left.
Oh,
Sure.
I have no children, but divorce if that happened in my house. For sure.
Fair.
I thought so.
So, Ashley, what is next for you? Iris Kelly releases on October the 24th. Wherever you guys get books, it should also be in your library system. I saw it already has a hold in my library system.
Same.
And
Nice.
and actually it was very cool. Last June, I live in Northwest Ohio, like small little town. And last June, Delilah Green was picked as they have a romance book club called the Meet Cute Book Club. And Delilah Green was their pick in June. They had
Nice.
almost 35 people of all ages at the book club. And I was like,
Awesome.
that's
Oh, I love
amazing.
that.
I loved it. I was so excited. So yeah,
great.
what's next?
Well, I mentioned that I just finished writing a holiday book. So this is a standalone. It's queer. Takes place at Christmas time. And it's a second chance. So it's about two people who are musicians. They're both musicians in slightly different ways. One is definitely a prickly curmudgeon. And the other one is not quite sunshine, but she's definitely not as grumpy as the other one. And it's a childhood friends to lovers to fiancés to left you at the altar 5 years later.
Oh,
So, yeah.
jilted.
Yeah.
Jilted.
Yeah. So I really love it. I just turned it in the first draft to my editor, so it'll be fall 2024. And then I'm starting a new series, the first book of which will be out in spring of 25. So those are kind of quick on top of each other. And the first book of that is called Dream On, Ramona Riley, and that is the one where Iris will probably make a little cameo. Yeah. So, and then that's part of a three book series. That's a brand new thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yay.
It's so hard, with Trad
Yeah.
Pub because we have to wait till next fall. Like,
Yeah.
I read these
Yeah.
3 books. What?
Yeah, I know. next fall. But then after that, you only have to wait till like April or May.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's a quick turnaround there.
And then I have already discussed with my publisher that those 3 books will be coming out like between 6 and 9 months
Nice.
after
Oh,
each
wow.
other. So yeah, so we kind of already decided on a fast schedule. So but so you won't have to wait quite as long.
Yeah. It's really interesting because reading romance for as long as I have, we used to have to go through the cycle that the new release would come out in hardback, and it would be in hardback for a year sometimes 9 months, but typically about a year. And then you would get the mass market paperback, anywhere from a year to 18 months after the hardback release. So it's a little easier to be a book reader, a bookworm, whatever, now than it was in the 90s because, like they're in paperback and I can afford a paperback.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, like I started in Kidlit, which they all come out in hardback first, but even non-romance books, like a lot of publishers have like strictly paperback lines now that even put out, not, I wouldn't say strictly literary, but just mysteries or book club kind of books. I mean, obviously we still have plenty of hardbacks going on, which I like a good hardback too here and there.
Yeah.
And see,
I do it all.
I buy all the paperbacks for my shelves, but I'm an ebook reader. I love the ease of, I think, Kindles and ebooks or whatever you use to read on. It makes an ease, especially if somebody has mobility issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And accessibility type issues like with reading and stuff like that. I really.
Yeah, I do both. I mean, I still buy, but I buy more selectively now, an actual physical book than I used to. And I have a lot of ebooks, and then I read ARCs on e-readers as well.
Yeah.
It's just a lot easier too when you're traveling. Like it used to be, I would literally go to the beach and take a stack. Like
yes.
And now I'm like, I can save those for later when I'm not traveling. I can just read on my Kindle. So
we often like to remind people to make sure you download before you get on the airplane or download before you get to your destination.
Before you get to the airport. The book I was reading, I don't know what happened, but I went to go read it on my recent flight and I was like, what the hell? Why can't I?
The worst.
Like, and then that's all I could think about. And then I ordered a cocktail and she didn't bring the alcohol. So I was I was double mad.
Yeah. Not a good combo.
I can't read my book and I can't drink my Bloody Mary
because
all she gave me was
reader.
Tomato juice.
Oh my gosh.
No.
That would have been a stressful fight for Katie. Ashley, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for these amazing romances, these queer romances. We love them so much.
So much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad.
Until next time. Oh, hey, Katie, thanks for hanging out too and coming. I should say thanks.
No problem. I was like so excited to come on.
Yeah. It was so fun.
We appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out tonight. Until next time, everyone, happy reading.